What's up? I'm Ayla,
Hi, I'm Beth Ann.
and this is Let's Talk BL, a boys love podcast.
What's up? Welcome back. We're so excited to have you again. Continuing on, talking all of our opinions about all things boys love. This week, I'm really excited about what we're talking about because, I ponder things related to boys love often because that is my life. Not much else going on. And this week, we're going to be talking about ships and just ship culture in general. Ayla and I think, have mentioned this before, right? That we got into K pop and then BL was what kind of came next. And we were never comfortable with the ship culture of K pop. That was like not something I was into.
It's weird. It's just,
It's weird.
okay. I don't want to say it's weird. I'm not calling you weird if you're into shipping. Let's get that out of there.
The ship
But
culture itself is
for
strange.
for me, it was strange because I came from I was a book nerd. I shipped fictional characters. I guess is what my
Right.
origin story is, shipping fictional characters.
Right.
And so when I got into K-pop and it was like all of a sudden we're shipping real life idols together based on interactions that have happened on camera, like at award shows.
Right.
And that just always, for me, made me personally feel kind of uncomfortable with the shipping culture
Yeah.
because, like, in a book and in fantasy, it's one thing because you're kind of invited to imagine that
Right.
world. In K-pop, like, we're talking about real people that have not
Right.
consented to
Right.
this like whole shipping thing. So it was just like never my jam. And that's why, honestly, shipping and the shipping culture that comes along with BLs is like one of the reasons that I stayed away from BL. I think for a long time, there were like a
Right.
few reasons that I resisted in the beginning, but really, a big part of it was the shipping for me personally because for me, it's like a consent thing, and it's
Right.
just like these are real life people we're talking about. And so once I did finally fall down this like BL rabbit hole,
Right.
and I realized that in
It's
the case
encouraged.
of BL world, the shipping is not only, there's not only like consent there, but
Yeah.
it's like encouraged, and these real life people play into it. And
Yeah.
I think more than that, what's so interesting to me about shipping culture specifically in BLs is that in most cases, in my experience, the fans understand that it's for work and that it's not real, right? That
Mm.
like the ship is something separate than the real life people.
Right.
And that the ship is it's kind of part of this like elaborate game we're all playing with each other. Like we're
Totally.
we're like just all LARPing with each other, like at all
Right.
times. I don't know.
Right.
But like the fans and the shippers understand that it's part of the couple work. And so
Right.
it's just like it makes it more fun. And then, I mean, we'll get into all of this, but like you've got multiple ships that happen, and like there's ghost ships, and there's just so much, and every
Yeah.
single time the people themselves encourage it, which is just like so different and
And
interesting.
they talk about it. I think that's the cool part too. Like there's that pretty popular Yin War conversation where they talk about like their ship and their like friendship outside of uh like their couple on love mechanics, and they're like, yeah, we're just friends, it's not forced, like we enjoy spending time with each other. So before we kind of get into like the fun specifics of ship or our ships that we love and all that stuff, I wanted to tell you the definition because I did, a little research on shipping because that's what you do. And I went to Wikipedia because there's apparently a whole ship page. And the definition per Wikipedia says shipping is the desire by followers of a fandom for two or more people, either real life people or fictional characters, to be in a romantic or sexual relationship. It is considered a general term for fans' involvement with the ongoing character development of two people's character arcs in a work of fiction. So yeah, you definitely see shipping more so in Thai BL world. You get a little bit in Taiwan.
I would say you get a lot in Taiwan, at least
I
in
think it's
like
more
encouraged.
subtle. Yeah.
I would say in like encourage, because I don't even know that it's more subtle. In fact, I would argue that if we're talking about like couple work and ship work that happens like outside of series, I would argue that in Taiwan, it's even more sort of like blatant, because the variety shows in Taiwan,
right,
bless, like they truly, there is no shame. Like they're like, oh my God, some of those like trapped appearances,
those games they make them play are so entertaining. These boys have like made out with each other, like passing a fruit between them should be that scandalous.
They have them play these little like essentially like blind date games and things like that, right? Like if you're in the US, you probably like, I don't know, remember like Nick at Night or something, where there would be like first date or blind date or whatever that show was. Like they make them play games like that. Like they fully are invested in like, how well do you guys know each other? And they make them play those games too. And so like the really popular one where they put the board,
the newlywed game.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Because they're always making them play the one where they put the board between their faces, and they have to pick. They have to pick which side, like which answer to the question, and then like the idea is that both of their faces will be like on the same side, so that when they pull the board out.
Not Taiwanese, but in Thai, there's a really good off-gun fun night where TayNew do that game.
Yes.
And New licks Tay, and it's so entertaining.
It's very funny. But yeah, I would say, honestly, I would say the Taiwanese are like almost more blatant about it than...
Yeah, true. I guess on variety shows, maybe not like the Thai where they like are hanging out with each other all the time, and
that's just an EarthMix thing. You've just been watching too much EarthMix. I don't think that is like
they've taken shipping to the next level.
Yeah.
Children and their like potential guest room in each other's houses.
Yeah, I think you're just too deep into EarthMix. That's not yeah, and a little bit of like early days Mew Golf, which again you are I don't want to say you're a Delulu when it comes to Mew Golf, but
they were my OG ship, and I just love, like, I'm a physical touch person, so I just enjoy seeing them be like affectionate and just fun with each other. And
okay, this is why it's conversations like this. You're the reason why. Okay, I'll tell this story. Recently, my brother found our podcast, which was truly a horrifying moment for me, because he's my little brother, right? He's not little anymore, but he's my little brother. He's young. Yeah. He's enough younger than me that he will always be my little brother. I'll always call him that.
He's not a teen. Let's put it that way.
No. And he texted me the other day, literally out of nowhere, the middle of the day, and was like, he literally said to me, "Do you have a podcast about Japanese erotica?" And I was like,
close.
And this is why, Beth Ann, because you're sitting here talking about how you want to sit around and watch Mew Golf like lick each other. This is why. You are why my brother thinks I have a podcast about Japanese erotica.
It's so good. So the other interesting thing about ships too is that you have different ways that ships evolve. You either have like a ship from a show, so like two people who were cast in a show that then are shipped during promotion, like they do promotions. It's after.
Canon, so that would be like a canon ship. So a canon ship is like anybody that's established in the show. So like even side couples. I would say this is where a lot of like side ships are born before they get their own shows. So like for example, Boon Prem as Wind Team, they became canon in Until We Meet Again, and arguably that was the wrong ship for those characters in that show. I understand we had to put Boon Prem together, But I'm just saying the Manawan team should have ended up together. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know.
Controversial. Same with, I guess, like Kao Up and...
Where were Kao Up shipped before Lovely Rider? Or you're just talking about Lovely Rider?
No, they were established in Lovely Rider.
Okay.
Because also sometimes they'll do promotions after they cast the show. They will then kind of establish the ship pre-airing of the show because
they do couple work. So the couple
a lot
work
of times they'll do workshops and stuff like that.
The couple work, I think, is probably the most interesting or one of the more interesting sides of like the shipping world in BLs because these couples sell, right? And so one of the main ways that all of these entertainers make money so that they can continue to entertain us all with their stories on television is through like ads and sponsorships. And the couples sell. And so the couple work is just wild. And they do so much couple work. And I have actually... so I think that Yin War, maybe just because I live on my war agenda at all times, and that's why like this is what I know about. But Yin War
you bought all the Laneige they've ever promotioned.
And I don't understand why this is a criticism. Clearly, this means Laneige keep paying Yin War because your advertising is working. I
even
support.
America.
No, they talk a lot about, or they have in the past talked a lot about their couple work and going on and doing couple work together. And they talk about like kind of their relationship, and you kind of alluded to this when they have to be like turned on like in the ship. Heard it when it came out of my mouth, didn't like process it came out of my mouth, and then I understood when the ship has to be in action sailing, when the ship has to be sailing, they understand that. So when the ship has to be sailing is like couple work time, and they talk about because they have so much couple work, so because they're like playing their ship so often, that's like how they became actual friends and have like a real life relationship, which is just like so interesting to me. Also, I think that Yin War is one of the most fun ships because the way that first of all, they are such fun friends. And if, like me, you watch a lot of Yin War media, I highly recommend it. You can actually see the shift from like Love Mechanics, which is, so they met right around the time the End of Love was going to start filming. Yin actually recently told the story of like the first time he met War. Like War didn't even look at him. Like they all went out to eat ice cream, which is like so wholesome and pure.
Yin was late, of course.
And they were like, Yin was late.
Always.
And they were like sitting in this booth with like a bunch of the other Rookie Thailand boys because at this point Yin was signed to Rookie, and War just like wouldn't even look at him or talk to him. And like he talks about how War is just like kind of weird, which is why I dig him so much. But if you watch their couple work and their like out of series ship work during Love Mechanics, it's like almost a little bit awkward. Because they just didn't have like a real life friendship outside of that yet. And then when you get to something like WXY, which is the YouTube series recently, they have transformed into like the most fun friends. And what I love about their ship is that when the ship is sailing, when they understand that like, okay, this is couple work time, they're almost like, they play it very cute, and it's like the opposite of what it is in their shows, which is that like War is always the one that's like not trying to have this ship happen. And every time he'll let something like he'll say something sweet to, you know, put the wind behind the sails. And he grosses himself out, and he'll do like a fake puke, or he'll like run away. He'll like embarrass himself. It's so funny. Meanwhile, Yin no shame.
Like
Like
head over heels for war,
he
which is so relatable.
Yin loves war so much, and like same, me and Yin, like we're gonna be best friends when we meet one day. We're gonna look each other in the, our eyes will lock, our eyes will lock from across the room, and we'll just instinctively know how the other one feels about war, and we'll have an instant bond.
It's so good. Yeah, their out of series content has I highly recommend WXY. Really, a lot of the YouTube videos, like any of the fun Love Mechanics actually did like a whole, all the couples did an out of series thing with Wabi Sabi people. And that's so fun to watch because it's a bunch of random people that are interacting, plus you have a bunch of ships, and so it's so funny to see kind of all the different dynamics between everybody. Another fun couple that has some great online content, speaking of Rookie Thailand, is Bon Win, that they just kind of were established in the best story, and it was surprising, but then I went online and I was like, oh, they've been like doing Rookie Thailand ship stuff since like 7 months ago or something.
The Bon Win storyline in the
so
best
cute.
story, I don't even know if it's cute. It's almost like a Win team thing from Until We Meet Again, in that
it's like a week from stage.
It literally comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like you are watching the scene. So it's established in the second episode, and which, by the way, 2 out of 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And they have this moment on stage where they like make eye contact.
And you're like, oh,
God, it's so cringy. It's so cringy. This is like giving me like Tessara flashbacks, I swear to God.
So
but they like lock eyes. And on one hand, I understand you, Win, because Bon has had this like major glow up in recent months, but they filmed the best story before his glow up. So whatever. Anyways, they literally never even talk. They don't have a conversation. They just lock eyes on stage, and like one of them gets, they're like
different friend groups,
bashful. And this is how you know you've been watching BLs too long, is when you realize they've established a ship from a glance.
Yeah.
But anyways, the only other development they have for this ship, which is why it's so interesting that this is like where they chose to establish them. Like, Rookie Thailand, I'm going to need you to send me like a storyboard of your plans for this ship, because I don't get it.
I don't think Rookie Thailand has plans based on the Yin War situation. I think they just like put 2 boys together and hope it happens, and it does, and they get lucky.
Because the only other development for Bon Win Bon, I don't know which way you're supposed to do it. Because it's not a set. Why though? Why you say that though?
Well, because of their YouTube series. It's like Fly Away with Bon and Win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the only other development they have in the best story is Win's character, whose name is Ray in the best story, mentions offhand that Bon's character, whose name is Dave, told him
didn't know
that Yin's character was moving away for college. Dave. Yeah, out of nowhere, Ray is like, yeah, Dave told me that Du is moving to Chiang Mai. And that's the only other like indication you get that they have some sort of relationship. This is where shipping gets frustrating, because it's like, is my ship real? Is my ship fake? And then you almost like, you get sucked in for the crumbs. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's so good. I was looking on Instagram to see, because they love some Shopee promotion. And so I was looking to see if they had any Shopee promotion with a hashtag. Okay, yeah. Their hashtag for Shopee is Bon's Win.
Bon Win, okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
Cool. I feel like since we're talking about YouTube stuff, we would be remiss if we didn't bring up your favorite active ship, your favorite ship that is not sunk.
Yeah.
No shade. It happens. It happens to the best of us.
We're not talking sinking.
As someone who loves TayNew so dearly, I feel you. Yeah. Because that ship is going down. Those 2 boys.
It happens.
Anyways, Kao Up and their little like YouTube travels and shenanigans are Yeah.
I
Tell
love
us
it so
about it.
much.
Talk about it.
I actually just watched their second episode. Here's the thing about Kao Up that I find so fascinating is they literally do nothing. They're basically like an older Yin War, right? Like they are fun friends. You could watch them literally just hang out and do absolutely nothing. And the funny thing about the shipping is right is like it's kind of romantic, but with these friends it's like there's
They
nothing.
just have
Like
chemistry that's fun to watch together, right? They're
yeah,
entertaining.
it's wild that they've made out in a TV show because the most recent episode for Cal Up was like them going through this building that Up is renovating for their offices. Justin, his manager, and Up have like offices where they do stuff, and Cal is just there to give design, but also just to like be Up's friend, basically. And Cal Up also have very similar personalities. Like they're both pretty chill, they're both like silly, but they also Cal is like the old soul in this, right? He's done a few BLs and this is Up's kind of first foray into it. But yeah, they clicked and they've talked about how surprising it was that they clicked. And so I highly recommend watching Lovely Writer, but also watching Cal Up stuff on YouTube because there's quite a bit, and Up has a great YouTube channel that's just enjoyable to watch.
You know what's like really interesting about, since we're talking about Kao Up, and I was thinking through, you said Cow's done a few, and I was like, what else has he done besides Until We Meet Again? Has he done anything else that I just don't know about? Until We Meet Again and Lovely Writer?
I think there was one more before Until We Meet Again, but I'm not really sure.
But I guess that's why so here's where we get into the part where like the ships change.
Right.
And so Kao in Until We Meet Again is shipped with Little Earth. And which recently is so funny. I ran across a TikTok. One of my like favorite BL creators on TikTok was talking about this. And he was saying that he didn't know if other people did this because he didn't have like BL friends. It was just him and a couple of friends, which I was like, relate. That's us. This is literally why we're doing this podcast.
We're talking to the internet because no one else will talk to us.
Yeah. And so like he was like, oh yeah, he was like, we always call the ones that have the same names by different, like we give them descriptors. And so they call Big Earth and Tiny Earth. And I was like, oh yeah, we call him Little Earth. So I feel confident saying this now that I know that like other people are also doing this.
Yes.
So by the way, that TikTok creator, his name is Trevor. His ad handle is Trevor530. I just looked it up. Highly recommend that as a follow. Great content creator. But so Kao and Little Earth were shipped together with Until We Meet Again. And they were like a powerhouse couple in the show. Their characters were done so well. And I thought that they just did justice so well to that storyline. They have I would say the best kiss in the whole show.
Yeah.
They have like the best like becoming boyfriends moment in the whole show. Honestly, they're awesome. Kao and Little Earth, we're clearly not meant to be a ship outside of Until We Meet Again. Like, I love them both dearly for very different reasons.
Yeah.
And this is where, so now Kao, of course, went on to do Lovely Writer and is with Up. And like, I think the only reason it's surprising that they're so good together is because Kao and Little Earth were just like not meant to be anything besides colleagues.
Totally. Yes.
And then of course Little Earth is shipped with Santa now, and those two are just like adorable together. Santa's pretty young. Dances. Yeah, Santa's pretty young, so it's all very like innocent and like friends and like cute, fun, like pure. But it's just the switching of the ships is very interesting because if you're looking at it through the lens of like K-pop shipping, right? If that's what you have in your mind, like this is what shipping is like, this will blow your mind because typically like on K-pop Twitter, there's like ship wars. Like people get mad at each other because like they ship
Right.
2 idols and you ship one of the idols with a different idol, and it's like a thing.
Right.
This does not happen in BL world, to the point where like even something like a ghost ship is encouraged a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so I've always found that part of like BL ship culture really interesting.
Right. Yeah, because like Singto has like probably a pretty main popular ship, but he no one can keep Singto down. Like
I
that boy
think
deserves all the boys.
Singto loves the idea that he is shipped with multiple people at one time.
Totally.
You know, yeah, bless you, Singto. You have a special place in my heart. I love that boy so much.
So funny.
Yeah, and so speaking of Krist Singto, I was going to bring them up earlier when you mentioned that like it's interesting to watch these ships who have like had some pretty intimate scenes in their shows interact as just like friends, and it's a different ship dynamic, right? Like their characters have a ship and then the two boys have a ship, and it's two different things and two separate things.
Yeah.
Which is as it should be, because these shows are not real life.
And it's more fun and more interesting to watch if their dynamic is vastly different from their show. Kind of like what you were talking with Yin War. Like
and Krist Singto, honestly.
Yeah, I like watching their out of series content just as much because you get something totally different.
Yeah, there's this very funny moment on Off Gun Fun Night. Off Gun Fun Night has truly brought the world some of the best moments of all time.
Content. Yeah.
Go back and watch Off Gun Fun Night. I could not, like, I can't overstate my love for Off.
Because the GMMTV hack has been restored. Bless.
Hey, man. Why you gotta bring up that trauma? Oh, Off Gun Fun Night. I think about Off a lot.
Okay. Anyways, so Krist Singto,
there's this moment on Off Gun Fun Night.
Refocus. We don't want to get off. We don't want to get off on.
Stop. Done. Stop. Okay. There's a moment on a certain YouTube show where Krist Singto they're like playing this little game, and you know how I think it's Sodas S that this happens, but it could be the end of Sodas. It's the moment when Kong Pop is training to be the new lead hazer. So it could be the end of Sodas or the beginning of or in Sodas S. I can't remember. Where the like punishment for Artit is that he has to like kiss Kong 100 times on the cheek.
Yeah.
And so they're doing this, and that's like the punishment in Off Gun Fun Night, but it's like Krist Singto, not Artit and Kong Pop.
Right.
And they start doing it, and like Krist kind of starts getting weird about it. And Singto just stops and he's like, you know, we've kissed before, right? Like he literally says that to him. Like Singto says the thing that we are all thinking, where it's like,
oh god,
y'all have like kissed before. You understand this, right? It's so funny. And I like Krist Singto a lot. Also, let's be real. If you are a Beth Ann and you love skinship, Krist Singto, man, like they might as well have invented the Pocky game. I'm pretty sure you could get them to play the Pocky game, but then not actually give them any Pocky, and they would just do it. Like
so good.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah, they love that like Pocky game. The Taiwanese have taken it a step further, and they've started doing this game where they like pass different size food between each other, which is really enjoyable to watch. But yeah, they're a fun ship. I'm trying to think. Tay went through quite a few fellas before he like kind of found New and had his like big kind of ship. Although
Tay did or New did?
Tay did, because he had Earth. Oh no, wait.
No, you're thinking of New.
Oh yeah. I guess they both had different ships. Or it was Tay.
I think it was
Tay
just
was
New
there first, and then Tay could not be held by just a ship and had to go to a threesome.
Tay has different boys and girls all across GMMTV, and I live for it because we all deserve a piece of Tay.
It's
truly
a piece of Tay.
We all deserve it. New. I think so. I've mentioned this. I really like TayNew. I am such a TayNew fan.
They're so fun.
They're so good. But what's funny about them is that, yes, they were, although actually I saw a clip recently where New said they weren't actually GMMTV's first couple. It was another couple whose
I
names
saw
I
that
don't
too.
remember.
Yeah.
It was something he was doing with Jenny.
Yeah, I saw that too.
But they were, I would say, like there were apparently the second couple and the first couple that people really are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that New, so I was very into TayNew. Like I was introduced to them, and I actually watched Dark Blue Kiss first, and then I went back and watched Kiss Me Again.
Right.
But I just recently watched Waterboy. And this kind of brings EarthMix as a ship into this too, so we can talk about them and their 3 kids in a second.
Oh, I love
it. Because I had always heard like TayNew is such a good ship because they're right for each other. And then you hear the same thing about EarthMix. People say over and over again, like Earth, and so Big Earth finally found his like BL soulmate. Like he finally found his person. He finally got his boy. And I never got it because I was like, people switch ships all the time and it's not a big deal and it's whatever.
Right.
Until I watched Waterboy. And when I watched Waterboy and it was it was New and Big Earth shipped together, I was like, this does not compute, but not just because of TayNew. At that point, I hadn't watched A Tale of a Thousand Stars yet. I watched Waterboy first, I think. And or no, I had already watched. Oh no,
You had just finished A Tale of a Thousand Stars.
But all of a sudden it made sense to me when I saw them with essentially the wrong the wrong ship, which is very much like Little Earth and Cow. It's like sometimes it works for the show and it doesn't work as like an out of series ship, and like that's not a big deal. And I think it's actually more fun and interesting.
They did justice to those characters in those shows, but absolutely, I will say, Earth needed someone like Mix to kind of bring something else out of him, because I think that's what's interesting too is Earth is someone who like it took a while. Big Earth took a while for him to grow on me because he shows up in a lot of different shows that I've watched, and then when he was paired with Mix, they just had that chemistry, like that fun like cat and mouse just dynamic. And then you see their out of series content and they kill it. Like it's just next level, which is so interesting because they've known each other for like 7 years now. It's almost, they're like a Billkin and PP where they like met it out of like the entertainment industry kind of thing, or through the entertainment industry. Earth and Mix met through like modeling or something, and then BKPP met through like school, but then they like have a friendship and then eventually are cast in a show together. And it is so fun to think like, I was thinking about this today because obviously I think about this constantly. Think about the idea that like you met someone in like middle school or high school who's like your bestie or your like friend, your acquaintance or something. And then like you maintain some type of friendship with them. And then eventually you're like playing opposite them as a lover on screen and then become a ship. Like it is like
they're professionals, Beth Ann.
It's like the wildest thought to have.
It's work. And that's what's so interesting about the shipping in BL world is like it's work. It's part of the game. It's part of like this thing that we're all buying into.
Yeah.
And it's super funny. I think so. Billkin PP, and then we got to move on to my favorite topic, which is ghost ships. But before we do that, I think I want to talk about Billkin PP because Billkin PP is truly a very, very interesting ship because those two together, I wouldn't even call them fun friends. I would call them like easy friends, if that makes sense. Like they very much like you can tell they just have like a long-standing friendship.
Comfort,
and it's like certain comfort level outside of the show, that the shows at this point, so 3 shows that they've been in together,
right? And like all the extra
and what's content. So interesting about Billkin and PP is that I think the two of them together bring out this very interesting like charisma in the other one, because we've talked about this before on the podcast where PP is just so ethereal and like angelic and like there's
Fancy.
just like PP is this fancy like glowing like
Totally.
angel from the heavens that like when you see the two of them together, right? If your first introduction to Billkin PP was seeing a picture of them next to each other, you'd be like, I don't get it. Because it's so hard. Nobody could ever outshine PP.
Right.
You just can't. There's just something about him. Like he has that factor to him.
Absolutely.
And then you see them act together and it's almost the same thing. It's like, and Goy has said this about him. So she was one of the writers on It's a and I Promised You the Moon. She's also in I Promised You the Moon.
Yeah.
And she does other stuff too, but that's kind of like her connection to Billkin PP. So she has said before that like this boy is so plain. And that really is when
talking
you see
about
them
Billkin,
talking about Billkin. And when you see them act together, you're like, yeah, I don't get it, because compared to PP, when he's next to PP, there's just something that draws you in with, and PP is an excellent actor. He is very, very good at what he does. And so you just become so emotionally connected to whatever character it is that he's portraying. But then when they start doing couple work together, Billkin is so charismatic and PP kind of like retreats to the back. You'll notice it if you watch them do interviews, if you watch them on, shows, promotions, things like that. Billkin has almost like the stronger personality when they're together. It's almost like Billkin is like taking care of, like shielding PP.
Yeah.
And you become so emotionally attached to Billkin as a person. That then it reflects back to his work as an actor. They are just a very dynamic ship that is I will be so interested to see what they do after I Promised You the Moon. Like they're a ship that I cannot wait to watch and see what happens to them, because they take their work very seriously. So with them, it's very much work.
Totally. Yeah. They're like a next level ship, because if you've even noticed, the out of series content that they do is still acting. Like it's still, they do a lot of promotion for the phone. They do all types of different things.
Their phone commercials are so good. You have to watch them. If you haven't seen them, watch them.
Yeah.
Also, the best Billkin PP moment of the past year, when Hundo P is from the documentary. Yeah. And I know you know what I'm talking about. You'll remember the episode is. I don't remember what episode number it is and all that, but there's a moment where they're talking about the permission to touch scene that features very prominently.
Episode 4.
Yeah, so it features very prominently. That workshop moment features really prominently, and I Promised You the Moon. And so they're talking about it because it is a major plot point. And Billkin is like kind of trying to demonstrate it. This is why it's so funny, because PP at the same time as like being almost reserved and like bashful can be very playful and just like funny. And like Billkin has such dad energy that it's just like it's so interesting them together. But Billkin's like trying to show how the exercise works. And so he's asking PP, he's like, may I touch you? He's like, may I touch your shoulder? And he's my. He just keeps saying like no and pulling away. And Billkin starts to get like frustrated,
annoyed.
And PP clearly thinks it's like the funniest shit he's ever seen in his life. That's the kind of dynamic that I live for in a ship.
I love it. The other story I want to tell real quick about them too that is really, really cute is they just did a behind the scenes for the big photo shoot at that La Chapelle location. And there's this moment where PP is laying on the ground doing his like shirtless scene photos, and Billkin's just standing there. He's just standing there like narrating, like basically being like, we can't do anything about this, boy. Like, who does this? Who lays on the floor topless and gets photos taken? He's like, you'll go look at his Instagram. This is what he does. Like, I can't do anything about it. I just love that. Like, there is like a fatherly kind of dynamic at times.
He has such dad energy. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I love
They're
it so
like,
much.
I would say remind me of just like a more like wholesome Yin War
Yeah,
almost, but like, yeah, they're very funny and like
so good.
easy friends. But
Okay,
before we
should
run
we
out
move
of time on
on?
this episode,
Yeah,
I have to talk about ghost ships. Ghost ships for me, which has been a very interesting like journey for me,
yeah.
being somebody who is very weary of shipping.
Oh, right, yeah,
I love the ghost ships. I think more than the canon ships.
yeah.
And part of the reason I love them so much is that the ghost ships are like encouraged by the people in the ghost ships. And so I want to start with the legendary Kao. Kao is like one of my
Callum?
favorite ghost ship. Kao. And that's where this joke comes from. So this joke we're doing
Yes.
actually comes from and Kao.
Yeah.
When they were promoting, so they started getting shipped together when they were promoting Until We Meet Again. And so Kao is shipped with Little Earth, and then of course, is shipped with Fluke. And when the whole cast was promoting, people started shipping together Kao because they were like clearly like buds, right? Like they clearly were like just like a little bud in the group because that group was so big.
Yeah.
And so people would start like saying to them like Kao. And they literally started making a joke about it where like Kao would get like fake annoyed and he would be like, no, it's Kao Om. Like his name was supposed to come first. And so then it turned like you can literally search on YouTube and there's so many videos of like, is it Kao or is it Kao Om or Kao? Personally, I think it's Kao.
Yeah.
But so that was kind of the first time that I really was like I was like, ooh, I get it. Like, this is fun. Like, I was like, ghost shipping is fun.
Yeah.
Because it's so just like tongue in cheek and like silly that I like it so much.
And they acknowledge it too. Like, also, not that it's a ghost ship, but they kind of joke around about when Golf and War did their little duet together, and they like nudge Yin a little bit. It's Cal too. That's like,
is it Cal? I couldn't remember who it was who does it.
I think it's Cal. That's like, hey, I saw them hanging out in the green room. Like, you should be aware.
Yin, be careful. Yeah. So when they all did boyfriends together, Golf they did this little like interview section.
Yeah.
And where they interviewed War and Golf because War and Golf had sang Missing Baby. That was their like project song for boyfriends. Which is a bop.
Can't wait to talk about music because we should do a whole episode on boyfriends.
Their girlfriend is a cat. Anyways, they're doing a little interview, and one of the other boyfriends, apparently it was Kao, is like joking with them because War says this isn't the first time we've been together.
Yeah.
And it sounds kind of suggestive. Like War has the same problem I do where I think he doesn't like compute how it's going to sound when it comes out of his mouth.
He's so sweet and innocent.
Like literally the other day I was talking to you and I was like, why won't he do us? And I like, it didn't until like it came out of my mouth and I was like, wait, no.
You're so angelic.
War does the same thing. And so War had said, this isn't our first time together or something like along those lines. Yeah. And they start joking with him. They're like, oh, so you guys switch partners then. You guys switch partners. And they had already established that Yin was there. Yin was in the crowd watching the Boyfriends concert, which is so pure. Also, imagine being one of the fans. It's just like you turn your head and like Yin is standing there like bopping. Okay.
Cute.
Anyways. And they're joking and they're like, oh, Yin, you better watch out. I saw them playing with each other in the dressing room. Yeah, I personally, which this will be very surprising because I love Golf. Golf was the first boy that got me into BLs. I was like, I like this boy. I want to see what he does.
Yep.
And I live on my War agenda, but I do not ghost ship Golf and War. No. I don't. You can't because like how are you supposed to Google Gulf War? Number one.
True.
Number two, it's because War has a different ghost ship in my heart.
Yes. Go ahead.
And it is currently my ship is sailing.
Yes.
It is, honestly, it is sailing through the sky. Like, it has wings. It is sailing on the clouds right now. Okay.
Tinkerbell has given that dust.
My war ghost ship is War Bonds. And oh
So good.
my God, I have actually ghost shipped them together for like a hot minute because back when I was first starting to love war, I of course was like reading every interview I could read, watching every interview. And I was starting to understand that all of these Rookie Thailand boys live in a dorm together, very like a la K-pop.
Yeah.
And so I'm like reading this, or I think I was watching it. I can't remember if it was an interview that I read or if it was like a YouTube interview, but War was telling this story about how he makes music with Bon. And so like at this point, I had been trying to figure out who the hell Bon was for a really long time because he has a song with War, he has a song with Yin, he's signed to Rookie Thailand. But he had never been in a show. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out. Like, I was like, okay, who, like, what does this boy do? Like, what is his entertainment route? Like, I don't understand.
Who are you?
And, like, granted, he was adorable with his little braces and his cute little smile. And yes, he was adorable. But I was like, who are you?
Yeah.
And so I was like, my interest was piqued immediately when War in this interview was like, oh, well, I was like practicing music with Bon and I borrowed a guitar from him. And I was like, ooh, they make music together. I was like, sold. As somebody who was very into band boys, I was like, I'm in. You got me. Tell me more. And so he's telling this story about how he had borrowed this guitar from Bon, and apparently it's like the only guitar they have in this whole house. And he had left it upstairs and it was somehow in a locked room. And so War had like climbed out of a window and like scaled the side of the house like Spider-Man to climb in the window and get this guitar for Bon because Bon was going to be like mad because he needed the guitar. And I was like, what a weird friendship. And it's so on brand for War. You know, I like the little weirdos.
Yeah.
And I kept seeing Bon like show up places. Anytime they would do like Sobyohei promotions, Bon would be there. Anytime they did anything, Bon was there. And I was like, okay, these two are cute together. And then I started seeing them like show each other in their stories. And they are clearly just birds of a feather.
Yeah.
Like Bon and War are clearly just so alike that it's so fun watching them together.
Right.
And then Bon had his glow up. And Bon with this glow up, honestly, mad props have to go to this Rookie Thailand hair and makeup team.
Yeah.
Because they truly took Bon and they were like, ah, yes, we are going to transform you. Into like it was like a Beauty and the Beast kind of moment where I feel like he like levitated off the ground and like sparkles started swirling and like
oh my God,
he spun around and became
so
like the Bon we see today.
Yeah.
And so then War's birthday happens and Bon is the one that like smashes the cake in War's face, which is very cute and fun.
Yes.
And now then they were in the best story together, and they were so fun in the best story together because they're in opposite friend groups. Yeah. But then they end up being in a band together.
They recruit War to be in their band. It's very cute.
And so in promotions for the best story, they did this like live performance of the song that they play in the best story that like War's character is singing to Yin. And so in the band, so therefore for this live performance, War is the lead singer / guitarist. Bon is playing the bass, which like the bass is, I would say bassists are always like the second hottest in the band, like after the drummer. Drummer's always number one. In this case, it's Beaver, but like we have War Bon. We have other things to pay attention to. I'm sorry, Beaver. But
he's adorable too.
So they're doing this live performance, and there's a guitar solo. Number one, War starts playing a guitar solo, and you're like, oh my God. And he like turns around and they're like jamming together. Yeah. And I swear to God, it was the cutest thing I ever saw in my whole life. Like they are the ghost ship to end all ghost ships because they're so fun together and they're like low key such fun friends. It's so good. And then some behind the scenes pictures got posted by their stylist
Right.
today as we speak, which
Yeah.
if you're listening to this episode on the day it's released, that means yesterday for you. Um so and like the pictures of these two interacting during the side performance, my
So
ghost
good.
ship, my ghost ship is sailing.
So good.
It's almost not a ghost anymore. It's becoming like Singto and he's coming to me. Like it's gonna be able to start picking things up and stuff.
Never, never. Okay, let's end this with the ship that deserves justice, the ship that deserves their own show because they have been the side couple and ship that has like existed and held on and still need their own show, which is Mike Top Tap.
Mike Top Tap. Mike Top Tap.
They deserve
Why?
a show. I want it to be like a whole musical show because I want them to sing and dance and just like live their best life. We got
I disagree. I don't want a musical BL.
Imtihan. I need Mike Top Tap.
I don't want a musical BL from Mike Top Tap. That's a bit much. Calm down. I do not need Ty Glee, please. Please, GMMTV, don't listen to this. Please, God. Please, God, no.
Yes.
What I need from Mike Top Tap, I want this to be like a gym scenario. Like I wanted them to have like rival gyms or something. Like there needs to be like a comedic BL for sure. Comedic BL.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
I do like, don't give me the angst. I don't want the angst.
Yeah.
I want the like accidentally in love trope. I want the like, oh, I slipped in a puddle in the street that's between our like rival gyms and oh no, we kissed. Like that's fully, I want like a full on like fish upon the sky ridiculousness for them. Like this is what I want.
So good.
Yeah, Mike Top Tap, as much as I love a wild Top Tap appearing and being shipped with literally anybody, by the way, another like really solid ghost ship, which is only for the purposes of 3 will be free. Tay Top.
Yes.
Solid. Listen to that series Sunday if you want to hear us like cry about it because it's
so
amazing.
So
yeah, Mike Top Tap, come on.
We could certainly talk about ships forever because they're just so interesting. This culture in this world is something that like I ponder continuously, and there's endless amounts of YouTube videos. Maybe we can do a part 2 at some point talking about all the different other things that we could talk about.
There will be new ships eventually.
Yes.
They're coming out every day.
I can't wait to see like existing ships do new things, and there's so much. So thanks again for joining us on Let's Talk BL.